Welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. Welcome to spring training. We're going to kick off spring training by announcing the signing of Darvish and welcoming him to the Cubs organization. Before we get into introductions, I thought we could formalize the signing with a presentation of the jersey and hat. Peter, if you're ready.
Just wait, look up back here, at me.
It's so selfish.
Surprise. Thank you.
Okay. Start. This is obviously Darvish, and this is his translator Daiichi. And I also want to acknowledge in the room Representatives Joel Wolf and Nick Chinook, and also past and present teammate Brandon Morrow here in support. Thanks, Brandon. And obviously Jed Hoyer, who will be up here with Joe as we do our formal press conference following this. So I'd like to see if you has any opening words. If not, we'll open it up for your questions.
Well, この度はカブスという素晴らしい球団に今入団することができて、非常に光栄に思います。
Today, I am honored to be part of such a wonderful organization, the Chicago Cubs.
そのしっかりこの評価に見合うような結果を出せるように頑張っていきたいですし、早くチームに馴染めるようにしたいと思います。
I like to get along with the team as soon as possible and meet everyone's expectations. Thank you.
Mr. Darvish, you chose the Cubs. You tweeted out that you had numerous $100 million offers. Why did you choose the Chicago Cubs?
すごくカブスが他のチームもそうだったんですけど、すごく誠意を持って交渉してくれていたのというのと、すごく皆さんスタイルさんも含めすごく人間がすごく素晴らしかったので、ここだと安心して家族も過ごすことができるなと思います。
You know, obviously every team was great. Cubs really stood out. Everyone was sincere at the meeting. Especially, I fell in love with how great each person at the Cubs are. Of course, including Mr. Epstein.
テキサスでダラスでエプスタインさんホイエさんと3時間話されたっていうことで、もう多分いろんなこと話されたと思うんですけど、特に今印象に残ること、それが結構この決断につながるところがあります。
The question is, over in Dallas, you met with the Cubs and talked for about 3 hours. Is there anything that stood out in the meeting?
いやいろんな自分のいいところとかカブスに来たらこういうことができるよっていうのはいろんなプレゼンテーションをしてくださっていたので、全部がすごく最初から最後まで印象に残ることばっかりでした。
Nothing in particular, but they definitely talked about my strength and what I could do once I joined the Cubs. So, I mean, everything from beginning to the end, I really enjoyed the meeting.
It took almost all of the off season to get to this point. Was there at any moment that you were concerned you wouldn't have anywhere to go for spring training?
シーズンすごい長いことチームが決まってどこまでチームが決まらないんじゃないかという心配と。
いやジョーにもずっと最初から言ってたんですけど、もしもチームが自分たちが求めているようなものがなくて、チームが 決まらないようだったら俺いつでも引退できるから心配しなくていいよとは言ってました。
I've always been in touch with the agent Joel. I've always said if there is no team that meets our requirement, I'm ready to retire.
先ほど誠意という話をされました。それを一番感じた瞬間だったり、ここならという何かそういう瞬間はあったんですか？誠意。
You mentioned sincere with the Cubs meeting. Use the term sincere. Can you elaborate if there's any one moment during the meeting where you felt that?
ジョーともすごく多分一番細かく連絡を取ってくれたと思いますし、テオがそういうところも最初から最後までそういう感じだったので、ずっとすごく欲しいってことを言ってくださってたので、そういうところです。
Theo was in touch with Joel very all the time, and then from the beginning to the end, I really felt that they really wanted me, and I felt that through their communication and how often they've been in touch together for.
Theo, was you your number one target all along?
Yes, you was our primary target. I mean, we think this is a great day for the Cubs organization to welcome a pitcher of this caliber. He's probably the preeminent strikeout pitcher of our generation. Incredible physical abilities, and I think we're getting him at a wonderful point in his career, where he's really matured and is ready to go out and do some special things. With winning a World Series being his top priority, that's also our top priority as an organization, and we think this is going to be a tremendous fit.
Theo, they went all the way up to today, the start of pitchers and catchers reporting. Was that the Cubs' choice that you guys waited that long, or was it his choice?
No, I don't think it was anyone's choice to wait so long. I think it was just the nature of this particular offseason and the free agent market dynamic. As you said earlier, we stayed in terrific touch with Joel, and it's a process. These things don't happen overnight, but I think the one thing that was clear coming out of the meeting in Dallas was that we were one of the places that you would feel comfortable playing, and he was somebody who was clearly our top priority. So we just worked hard at it, and in the end we felt it was very important that he be able to come in and be with the rest of his teammates at the beginning of camp. When you sign a free agent contract, it's really important to get off on the right foot, to get to know your teammates, to get to know your coaches, to develop a rapport with your catchers, and to fit in as one of the guys. And you, Son, also felt like that was important. And so we came together the last week and got the deal done.
Theo says that you were their number one target with the Cubs. Your number one destination? And if so, what changed from before the trade deadline last year when the Cubs were not on your list of places you wanted to go?
Theo が大学さん的にカブスが一番高かった。
Joel Wolf, everybody.
そうですね、そのジョーがすごく僕ジョーのことすごい信頼してるんですけれども、本当に常にカブスはいいってことを去年のデッドラインの時からずっと言ってたので、そのオフシーズンもずっと言い続けてたんで、それでどんどんイメージが本当に良くなっていったなっていう感じ。もともと悪いわけじゃないんだけど、良かったのがもっと良くなった。
Joel, I have a lot of trust in him. He's always said to me how great the Cubs are ever since the trade deadline, and continuous during the off season. So my image towards Cubs, it was never bad, but it kept growing in a positive manner. The question is, you faced against the Cubs last year. How did you look at the Cubs from a non-Cubs standpoint, and what do you think of the Wrigley Field?
いや本当にすごくいい選手で、しかも若い選手がすごくたくさんいますし、そのピッチャーもそうですし、野手もそうですけど、すごく本当にいいチームだな、やりにくいなっていうのは、すごくありました。で、リグリーフィールドも去年あそこでいいピッチングができたので、いいイメージはあります。
Obviously, there are a lot of great players on the Cubs, especially there are good young players. is definitely one of the more difficult teams to play against. But I pitched well at the Wrigley Field, so I have a good impression of the stadium in general.
去年トレードでチーム変わられて新しく得るものがあったと思うんですけど、また新しいチームなくて、また今回も何かやられるという楽しみというかワクワク感みたいなのがあるでしょうか。
The question is, you got traded last year during the season. I'm sure you had a lot of things to learn and take away from. Do you expect the same with this new team?
多分レンジャーズにもドジャーズにもなかったものがまたここにもあると思うので、またこの球団から、学べることがまたいっぱいあると思うので、それがすごく楽しみです。
I'm sure Cubs have something that both Rangers and the Dodgers do not have. So I'd like to, take away everything, learn everything I could from this club team.
What did you learn from your struggles pitching in the World Series last year?
まあでもいろいろななんていうのかな、なぜそうなったかっていう記事はよく目にしたので、なんとなくありますけれども、状態としてはそこまで悪いわけではその前の5試合の先がなかったので、いろんなこのオフは、あそこだけじゃなくて去年の中で去年一応の中で自分の中で満足いかない部分があったから、そこを今は修正してきたつもりではありますけど。
I mean, there are a lot of articles that I read pointing out what I've done wrong, but I did well in the past 5 games, and also it's not just about the World Series games, but there were some parts during the whole 2017 seasons that I could, fix, and so that's what I would like to take away.
How much of an influence was it, or helpful that they signed Chris, catcher, to the year?
キャッチャーのクリスをサインしたことに関しては。
どういうふうにどう
Like, what do you
Just
mean?
having a catcher here in camp that he's familiar with, that's successful.
取ってもらったことのあるキャッチャーがいる。
コントロールがいいです。
I like Contreras better.
Theo, following up on your playoff question, like you said, a lot was written about it. Did that come up? Does it matter? A couple games in your mind? Is it something you address?
Yeah, look, he pretty much dominated against the Diamondbacks, and as we all know too well, against us as well. And then the World Series was a struggle, but that's first of all, I think there were a lot of reasons for what happened in the World Series. From as has been discussed, the possibility of tipping pitches, the difficulty with the baseballs, and then the Astros were red hot. They won the World Series for a reason. They were swinging the bat great against everybody. But I don't think we'd be doing our job if we evaluated based on a 2-game sample. He's been over here for 6 years. He's proven himself as an elite pitcher, a top of the rotation guy who can make adjustments too. When things go wrong, like they do for everybody in this game, he makes adjustments and learns from it and comes back stronger. So, if anything, I think getting close to a championship and not getting all the way there has only increased his motivation and his focus on winning a World Series, and that's what we're here to do as well. But we look at the pitcher in totality. If you look at it, he's bounced back extremely well from the Tommy John surgery. His stuff is as good as anyone's, and we think there are things that we can do with him to keep him growing and get even better. So. Certainly felt bad for him with the World Series, but I also felt it might be an opportunity. If other teams overreact to that, I think we know that there's more to you, Darvish, than what happened in the World Series.
We're told that you are always trying to improve and work on new pitches. What would you be working most on to improve as you go forward with the Cubs?
常に新しいものを進化を出しています。カブスで、これから見ていきたいとか、新しく覚えたいというのは
そうですね。もっといいピッチャーになりたいので、一つ一つの球種の精度をしっかり上げて、配球ももっと勉強したいと思います。
I mean, obviously, my main goal is to become a better pitcher overall. So I like to, perfect each of my pitches and the commands as well.
Change up?
チェンジアップももちろんそうですけど、例えばカーブとかも多分もっと使っていくことになるかなと。
I mean, change up obviously, but I like to utilize curveballs as well.
Some players and agents have spoken out this winter about this market in particular, slow moving, and some of the reasons behind it. What do you think some of the reasons are behind it, and how surprised or disappointed were you the way it played out?
今回このオフシーズンすごい、エージェントと選手同士でいろいろ話してたと思うんですけれども、そこに関してはどういうふうに考えましょう。
どういうふうにというか、なかなか進まないなっていうふうには思ってましたけど、例えばエージェントの方もそうですし、球団の方も一生懸命お仕事されていると思うので、僕は何か言うことではないと思います。
I mean, obviously, I felt the slow movement, but then again, I know each teams and every agents are working hard and doing their best. So, I mean, it's not that I have something to say about it, but I know every one of them is doing their best.
NPB でカードの人って当然最初はもうある程度年齢いってるので、6年間ここでプレーしてまだそういう6年契約を得たっていうのは初めてのケースなんですけど、それを実現できたということに対してすごい大きな達成事だと思うんですけど。
So the question is, a lot of the Japanese players who come from Japan overseas, they are fairly mid-range age, and you are the first one to get another 6-year contract after 6. So how do you feel about that?
いやっていうよりも、自分は一応トミー・ジョンを3年ぐらい前に受けてるので、これが例えば30年とか40年とか、前だったら、自分はここにはいないので、その当時の技術だと、本来だと終わってる選手なので、またここに、こうやってチャンスをもらえたっていうことが、そういう医学の部分とかにもすごく感謝です。
Not necessarily on the 6-year contract after another 6-year, but I mean, as you all know, I've had the Tommy John surgery 3 years ago. So if this was 30 or 40 years ago, I think I'd be retired. So I like to thank all the medical technology these days to help me get this contract.
How important was the opt-out clause after 2 years?
No, well,
いやどういうふうな影響今この時点では何もないです。やっぱチームに先に馴染まないといけないし、シカゴっていうところでプレーするってことがすごく楽しみなので、今はそこは考えて全くないです。
Right now, nothing. I don't have anything about the opt-out. Right now, my main goal is to, get along with the new team, get used to Chicago and the Cubs.
Doesn't have anything on it. I'm talking about like when it was discussed, like why he would want it, how important it was for him just to have that choice.
そのオプトアウトの選択肢があることに。
契約の細かい話に関してはあんまり、することは賢明じゃないと思うので、ここでなぜとかそういうことを話すといろんなことを話さなきゃいけなくなっちゃう。
I don't think it's appropriate for me to, discuss the details about the contract at this moment.
Did you discuss the timing of agreeing on Saturday? Was it just that spring training was about to start? Did the offer change? Were you mulling, offers for a long time that were the same, and then made the decision? Why Saturday?
なぜ土曜日に契約を決めたんでしょうか。いろいろ動きがあったんでしょうか。
いや早くスプリングトレーニング始まる前に決めないと、他のこういうことがあったりとかってなると他の選手に迷惑かかってたりするかもしれないんで、そういうのは嫌だし、土曜日にすればメディアの人だったらあんまりいないんで、テレビとか。
I mean, so Saturday, I decided because it was before spring training, and that was important because if it happened during spring training, I would cause trouble to other teammates and then clubs. So I just wanted to.
最後そこからそうじゃなくて、ウィークエンドでみんな家族のことでいっぱいいっぱいになったら、僕のことにあんまり興味を示さないからです。あんまり注目されてないから。
And then Saturday, media-wise, I know everyone's spending time with their family, and then I don't want everyone's attention over the weekend, so I decided on Saturday.
ご家族は今回の決断についてどういうふうに思いましょう？
The question is, how's your family feeling about signing with the Cubs?
奥さんは、結構最初の方からカブスがかなり好きそうだったので、すごくカブスシカゴの街もすごく気に入ってますし、すごく喜んでます。
My wife, she liked the Cubs from the beginning. She seems to like the town of Chicago, so I think she's looking forward and happy about it.
How attractive was it to be able to pitch with some of the other pitchers on this team, Lester, Hendricks, Quintana?
まあレスターとかヘンドリクソンと一緒に投げれるっていうことに関してどういうふうに考えましょうか。
いやみんなもう素晴らしいローテーションなので学べることが非常に、ね、たくさんあるので、本当に会うことがすごく楽しみ、一緒にプレーするのが楽しみです。
I mean, great roster. Each pitcher's great. I think there's a lot that I can take away from, so I can't wait to begin.
You talked about liking the young players on this roster, and that was a reason you were enticed to join the team. Who are some of the players you're most excited to play with, and who have really stood out to you and impressed you?
先ほど若い選手がたくさんいらっしゃるって言ってたんですけど、特に誰のことが注目してるか。
いやもうシュワーバー。ホームラン打たれたんで、すごいホームラン打たれちゃったんで、CS で。
Because he hit, as you know, a huge home run off of me in that LCS, so that's the guy that I'm very interested in.
Do you plan to talk to him about that home run?
ホームランについて彼と。
てかまあどんなトレーニングしてんだろうって影から見てきます。
I'll try to see what kind of workouts he's putting in to hit that kind of home run.
ワールドシリーズという話は何回か出てますけど、ご自身とした今年の目標を。
The question is, what is your main goal for this season?
まあチームの輪を乱さないことがまず一番のこと。まあそこからワールドシリーズもちろん優勝したい。
I mean, obviously, to win the World Series as a Cub, but to maintain good relationship with everyone.
FA が今回も初めてだったんですけど、この3ヶ月間、自分を振り返る時間もあったりと思うんですけど、結局どんな時間だったんですか、この3ヶ月というか。
The question is, it's your first time being a free agent here, and then there's a 3 months gap since the off season, and then I'm sure you had time to reflect on yourself. How did you spend that time frame?
日本に帰ることもなかったので、まあ本当に毎年のオフシーズンに比べもっとゆったりした感じのいいオフシーズンだったと思うんですけど、特にこう変な感じもなく。
I usually go back to Japan during off season, but this off season I stayed within the States, so I was able to spend a lot of time just relaxing, be on myself, and it was really nice.
Do you feel any pressure signing a contract like this?
まあこのような契約を結んでプレッシャーなどは。
さっきちょっとプレッシャー感じた。
Yeah, he definitely feels pressure. Yeah.
まあでももちろんそれは誰でも感じることだから、そういうのをしっかり力にできるようにしたいと。
I mean, obviously, when someone's signing a contract this big, I think everyone feels some level of pressure. So I like to take that in a positive way and motivate myself.
More than the money, pitching for the Cubs in Wrigley Field, World Series favorite, and a chance to prove that you can be a big game pitcher in big moments. How much did all that factor into your decision to come here?
そのカブス契約するにあたって、まあ、リリーフィールドでカブスのチームとして、まあ、ワールドシリーズ制限するということに関しては、まあ、そのチームを決める決断の上で何か影響がありました。
いやもちろんもうワールドシーズンに、ね、いける確率が非常に高いチームだったっていうのがもちろんかなりのなんていうかプライオリティだったので、もうそれを十分に満たして十分すぎるほど満たせるチームだったっていうことです。
I mean, my priority to selecting a team was a team that had a great chance of, winning the World Series, and then the Cubs obviously have more than a great chance of winning. So I'm really honored to be here.
Was that considered in a normal off season? That considered late to have a first visit, I guess, in mid-December. Did it come about because of the winter meetings? Maybe there'd be a match, and you hadn't that out.
Yeah, I guess so. I think maybe early on, everyone got the sense it was going to be more of an extended off season, and then we had conversations with Joel at the GM meetings as well as at the winter meetings, at which point we determined it was a good idea to sit down and get to know each other, so that both sides could get more comfortable and see if there was something there worth exploring. So I found it to be a really productive meeting. We like to meet in person just to understand where a player is coming from, what motivates him, where he is in his development off the field as well as on the field, what they're looking for out of a destination. And all of us were really impressed and really comfortable. He did the entire meeting with us in English without a translator. He had put a lot of thought into things that had gone right in his career, things that he wanted to continue to improve, and what his goals were for the rest of his career. We were able to engage and have a pretty in-depth baseball conversation about ways that he could maximize his deep arsenal of pitches and fit in with our approach to trying to get guys out. So I think without that meeting, we probably don't end up here with you joining the Cubs. So I was glad to have it, and appreciate Joel inviting us down to Dallas, and you inviting us down to Dallas.
Why was that important to not have a translator?
そのミーティングカブスとダラスのミーティングで通訳なしっていうのはなぜそういうふうに通訳なしで決まったのか。
いやまあどの分野においてもやっぱりこう自分が良くなる次のステージに行くその壁をやっぱ破るのって挑戦する心があるかどうかだと思うので、まあ、いきなりその挑戦する場合に使ってしまって申し訳ないんですけど、まあ、その英語のレベルをちょっと上げたいっていうことで一回その場に入ってみようと思いました。
You know, if in any situation, if you want to advance to the next level, you gotta challenge yourself. And then I use this as an opportunity, not to be disrespectful to Theo, but to improve my English, and I think it went really well.
It's bad for Daiichi's job security.
Yeah, my job.
Any temptation to do that today?
What was that?
Any temptation to do that today?
To whip me out? それ外すっていうこととか。
How impressive was the Cubs metrics plan, especially the run prevention plan that they use on a daily basis?
まあ見たことないようなその技術というかそういうのも見せてもらったので、そういうのをなんていうかな、使いながら、自分がもっと良くなっていくのを見るのが楽しみでした。
Some of the stuff I've never seen before, so I hope to utilize everything here to better my results.
ワールドシリーズ第7戦の後に、ドジャースでやり返したいとおっしゃった。でカーショーとはすごくいい関係をシーズンも組んでいただいて、でも気持ちでは何ともならないのがこのビジネスだと思うんですけど、今ドジャースについて思うこと、あとカーショーにはこの自分の決断を伝えました。
The question is, after the Game 7 of the World Series, you commented you wanted to be back in the World Series as a Dodger, and during the off season, you worked out with Kershaw. But now that you signed with the Cubs, what do you think of the Dodgers right now? And then have you told Kershaw that you signed with the Cubs?
ドジャースには本当に感謝してますし、いろんないいことを自分が学べること、自分のことを助けてもらったことがたくさんあったので。でも監督ともデイブ・ロバーツともその決まった時には電話しましたけど、今あなたたちを倒すことを一番に考えてますっていうこと、まずそれで。
I mean, I'm really thankful and appreciative of the Dodger organization. They really helped me out. I've learned a lot of things from them. And then as soon as I signed with the Cubs, I talked to Dave Roberts about the signing with the Cubs, and I told him my main goal is to beat the Dodgers.
自分でカーショーに関しては、家族以外で一番最初に伝えた人がカーショーだったので、すごく喜んでくれたけど、すごい喜んでくれました。だからすごく本当本人に感謝してもしきれないことがたくさんあるので、感謝します。
And regarding Kershaw, he was the very first one outside of my family member to inform of this news. He's very happy for me, and I'm really thankful for Kershaw.
今までマドン監督の野球、マドン監督どのように見てきたのか、これから彼と一緒に戦っていくことについてどう感じているか。
What do you think of Joe Madden and this baseball, and what do you think to play under him?
すごくよくニュースとかで見てる、すごく楽しそうにこういうクラブハウスでもそうですし、移動の時とかいろんな服着たりとか、道具連れてきたりとか、すごく楽しく野球を本当楽しんでる、人生を楽しんでる方だなっていうイメージがすごくあって、そういう方と一緒に野球ができるっていうのはすごく楽しみです。
He's an interesting guy, and I mean, I've read news that he wears various kinds of clothes, takes animals here and there. So I'm really looking forward to play under him. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on. Don't step in front, please.
We'll be back in a few minutes for the second phase of our availability today.
Attaboy.
Back in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Intermission.
Intermission.
Oh my gosh.
I'm already in full read stages.
Yep. Thank you for getting him to smile for me. He had a good show.
Funny, man.
He was. Seems like a good guy. Yeah, I think so too.
I mean, I could probably handle it, but...
Very good. Background sounds are good.
Yeah, okay.
It's ambient, so...
Sure.
I mean, you want to take a read?
Yeah, that's fine.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Maybe sleeping? Or...
No, you won't be sleeping. You might hear him in the background. But
It's not so much
more like conversation starting.
You know what? I'll tell them 3. They'll text you if you say 3:30.
Okay.
So 3-hour time. Great guys. Tom Waddles. Okay. We'll text you a little bit before.
Tell them the truth, Jess, about those guys.
They're good.
Brandon, Dan Roan from WGN.
Hey, how are you?
Good to see you. Welcome in. Can we get 2 quick questions?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
They want us to move, or right here is good?
These guys are going to be a minute. So.
Okay.
All right, real quick. You had a chance to pitch with you. Can you tell us what he brings to the mix here?
Well, obviously, incredible stuff. I mean, anybody that's watched him over the last 6 years knows he can miss some bats, and that's obviously what sticks out first. And he puts a lot of preparation into it. I've got to watch some of his bullpen side work, and he's always working on something, trying to refine his stuff and get better. And I know that's a big reason why they obviously like him, along with the skill set.
Is his prep different than most of the other people you've seen work?
Not really. I mean, he's pitched in the U.S. long enough where I think he's probably changed some things since when he came over, and learned the way that guys do it over here. I think we pitch on a different schedule than they do, and those are all things I'm sure he learned years ago. But yeah, it didn't seem like he necessarily prepares any differently. Although he did play catch with the other hand sometimes. I've seen that. It's pretty impressive.
I heard he gets over 80 with the other hand.
I haven't seen any radar gun readings, but I know he's got a pretty good curveball left-handed.
That's pretty crazy to have somebody do that. That's athletic ability there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Have you got a chance to meet everybody, or did you know a bunch of the people?
I didn't really know anybody, but everybody's been great. I mean, a lot of great personalities in the clubhouse, and everybody's been, very welcoming, and it's been a good experience.
Good deal. Okay, we'll talk to you more.
All right.
Hey, thanks. Appreciate it.
Way to go.
Just from a couple years ago, but I brought it up. It's very appropriate for today. Thanks, man. What are we doing? Middle?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, you commented on your wardrobe, Joe, as you were walking out, so.
Smart man. What did he have to say?
He said you wear different varieties of clothing and you like animals.
He's right on. He's right on right there.
Pretty much sums it up.
And we're going with the Process is Fearless T-shirt that we had made a couple years ago in Japanese, and so I thought it was the appropriate time to wear it today. Got to meet him earlier. Really ingratiating young man. Speaks English extremely well, and of course we're very excited to have him be part of our team and our staff. It's really an exciting moment for us.
Joe, how does he change the complexion of this team?
Well, I mean, obviously it fills out the rotation. It permits, impacts Mike Montgomery a bit, who's also a very capable starter in the major leagues, but it makes us stronger, obviously. It lengthens the batting order of the pitching, if that makes any sense. Obviously, outside looking in, it looks better, but we still have to play the games. We have to play the games. We have to perform. It's not just about one guy, but obviously he makes us better. There's no question about it. I am not one to count the chickens and all that kind of stuff in advance. You still have to play the games. It's all theory right now. We're going to go out there. We're going to work right now. Overall, the attitude of the group cannot be better. I don't know if you've watched or seen our guys walking around. They can't be in better shape. It's ridiculously wonderful how our guys report it, both physically and mentally. Talk to them. Talk to our guys and hear the excitement in their voices, the energy in their voices, the enthusiasm in their voices. It's all really good stuff. So when you sign you, Darvish, obviously that lends to all of that, to that moment. We still got to play the game on the field, and I'm really excited to see our product.
So does that mean you came up with the t-shirt theme?
Actually, the theme was made in advance of you, but I think it fits in really well with him being here also. A little bit more elaborate this year. We're going to reveal it week by week. I'm kind of jacked up about it. Got more people involved. I'm really excited about this. So there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of balls in the air, as they say. So I think you'll enjoy it also.
You mentioned the excitement, enthusiasm. Is it markedly different than last year at this time because there's no hangovers?
Yeah, there's a couple extra weeks of preparation to come into camp. Listen, we'll take the tiredness coming into camp on an annual basis. I could not be more proud of our group as last year. I mean, you could talk about hangover, you could talk about a lot of different things, but we got within a couple games of the World Series again. That's 3 years in a row. I mean, so there's nothing negative about last year whatsoever. I really will verbally battle anybody that wants to dispute that. I'm so proud of that group. Last year's group, to me, was probably even more impressive than 2016. How we started, overcame that, regrouped, got to that point, and furthermore, I don't think it's been analyzed enough, the series against Washington. The Nationals, that was a tough series, followed by a quick trip over to the West Coast, an unfortunate incident on the plane that put us in a really difficult position physically. So, and nobody cried about that. So don't underestimate last year's group and what they did and how we did it. That was pretty impressive. So coming into this year, I just think that we have a little bit more time, to get our stuff together. And I really believe that the guys did not like the way last year ended, and we're looking forward to getting back to those last 7 games of the year and winning the last game.
Chad, can you talk about how this fortifies your starting rotation, the organization's plan for at least 2 years, but with all the other starters 3 to 4 years, and how that'll allow your young pitchers to develop on their own?
Yeah, we talked at the beginning of the offseason, you guys asked what our goals were, and I think we were very clear. It was an offseason that was not spent very much on the offensive side. It was entirely focused on pitching. Our goal was to add starting pitching, add depth in the rotation, and the goal really was to add strike throwers to the bullpen. And I think we feel very good that we accomplished our goals. I think in getting obviously a guy like Darvish to go to top of the rotation, that makes a big difference. We're really excited to get Chatwood. We think he's a guy whose best years are ahead of him, and he was a target right at the beginning of the offseason. We were able to execute on that. And then Drew Smiley was a guy that we were excited when he was non-tendered. He may be able to help us at some point this year in the bullpen, but he's a guy that we have very high hopes for in 2019 and the rotation. So we accomplished those goals from a rotation standpoint, and then in the bullpen, adding Morrow, adding Cishek, bringing back Dunsing, all 3 guys throw strikes. We didn't do a good enough job last year at the end of the year throwing strikes in the bullpen. That was a clear problem for us, and we did everything we could to address it.
Theo, you said earlier that you was your top priority this offseason, but I'm wondering how much this unusual offseason kind of allowed that to be a reality, how it kind of unfolded and made it easier to have.
Yeah, I mean, he was atop our wish list, but early in the offseason, we didn't think it was very realistic. As Jed just alluded to, we knew we had to add a lot of quality and depth to our pitching staff, and that would require some volume. So we had a lot of needs to fill in the pitching staff, and like all teams, we have a budget, and we needed to figure out a way to add the talent and depth that we needed, but also stay on target with our short and long-term financial planning as well. And so around the winter meetings, we got to a point just in assessing the market, the supply-demand, atop the starting pitching market, that we might be in a position to end up at least being a contender for Darvish with a contract that we could tolerate, or with a contract that we could fit into our short-term plan and our long-term plan. So that's when we really engaged in full, made the visit to Dallas, and then stayed in great touch with his agents.
Ultimately, how difficult was it to part with Jim as a person as well as the player to move on to the season?
Yeah, look, I think I'll have a lot of great things to say about Jake once he signs with another team, but I'm happy to say it again today too. It's just, none of us have rings without Jake Arrieta. He was as instrumental as anybody in the turnaround of this franchise, and he helped lift the culture with the way he approached things. Won a ton of big games for us, and we're all huge fans of his, and we wish him well. We wish his family well. Whatever team lands him in free agency, he's going to be getting a great pitcher and a great representative of the organization. So we're very cognizant and appreciative of everything that he's done for us. Today's Darvish's day, and we're excited to welcome him to the organization. But I think it's appropriate to tip your cap to Jake Arrieta and wish him well.
Theo, did you have to go to the to Tom Ricketts at all, or was this to sign him, or was this within the realm of whatever you had for your plan?
Yeah, always. We stay in good touch throughout the off season, especially about any big investment. But you have to look at these things from short-term and long-term perspective. So one of our goals was to put the team together this year in a way that would maybe allow us to reset under the CBT threshold going forward. We think that made sense in the big picture for us. So average annual value of the contracts that we were negotiating was important to us. And then for the long haul, we're always cognizant of how a player fits into the long-term plan with this core that we have, and that's going to be earning bigger and bigger salaries as we move forward. And in the end, the real focus was kind of on the total value of the contract, and then once we got to a point where we felt that was reasonable and it was acceptable to the player and the agent, then finding a way to make it work for us, which is where the 6 years and the average annual value came in. Tom was very supportive. It's wonderful to have an owner like that sees the big picture, and then once he's gotten a real taste of winning, isn't necessarily content just to be a contender or in the mix each year, but really wants to capitalize on this window that we have and deliver championship baseball to our loyal fans who certainly deserve it. So we've got nothing but support from Tom and the business side. We're starting to capitalize on some new revenue streams, and allows us to fish in these waters as long as we do it in a responsible way for the short and long term.
Did anybody else offer 6 years?
Yes. But you could talk to Joel. It's not appropriate to really go in depth about negotiations.
How much does medical recovery and metrics go into your guys' decision, along with the physical scouting and getting to know the player, as far as your evaluation to sign you?
What was the first part?
Physical evaluation, including metrics, and you had a couple of years removed from Tommy John.
Yeah, look, I think we try to analyze things from a scouting standpoint as well as an analytical standpoint, and Darvish is someone who certainly checks all those boxes. I think statistically he's the best strikeout pitcher of all time. His stuff ticked up a bit last year, his first full year back from Tommy John surgery. He can do some really unique things with the baseball. His ability to spin the heck out of it and control his spin and shape his breaking balls different ways. He's got as deep an arsenal as any power pitcher in the game, and we feel there's some room for growth too with how he uses those pitches in different sequences and to different hitters. We think he can get even better. One of the things we love about him at this moment in time is we think he's now gotten to a point with his mental abilities and his focus and his maturity to match his physical abilities, which have always been incredibly elite. So we think he's at a real nice point in his career.
Theo or Jeb, is this the speed of this offseason, is this something that you view as, is it a one-off this year, an anomaly, or is this something that we can all start to look forward to? And Joe, what does that do for your team building when you're starting to think about what's my squad going to look like if the offseason is so elongated?
Yeah, I'll take the first part of that question. I hope not, honestly. I think that we've all sort of grown up in this game with a certain sense of what the timing is going to be every offseason. None of us have ever experienced an offseason where we just signed Darvish the day before spring training, and that's not a late signing. And I think for a lot of reasons, I think it's much better if things happen quicker. I think it's better for all of our lives. I think it's better for the fans. I'm sure it's better for all of you guys as well. So hopefully it's not the case. Every offseason is different. Sometimes they're really fast, and a lot of things happen at the winter meetings. This year was the exact opposite, and hopefully it is a one-off.
Regarding the team building, when you sign a Yu Darvish, regardless of the date, it's always, I think, easy to include that name. This whole off season, I've just been watching like everybody else has. I have so much confidence in the guys in our room, and I think we've created the culture now that I rely on our players to absorb or bring into the clubhouse, whomever that might be, and it's probably going to be somebody pretty good. whenever you bring a difference maker in, it's an easy absorption into the entire community. So I've not been concerned about all of that. Honestly, I've not. I have so much faith in our guys and the method we've created over the last couple of years. Like I said, I really believe that if you do all this properly and well, that you rely on your group to take care of all that. And anytime you add a player of used caliber to your group, it's kind of easy to absorb, I think.
Joe, you mentioned Mike Montgomery. Is there a conversation that needs to be had, or has it happened?
It's already happened. I know Theo's talked to him, and Jed have more than I have. I will. Listen, this guy's he's a tremendous team player. Of course, he's capable of starting on the major league level. He knows that, and we know that. There's going to be plenty of starts, actually, by the end of the season for him. We really believe that. Also, we know that. So it's just a matter of conveying that to him. He's got to know. I mean, in today's world, we all have to know what our role is and how this all fits in. And I think that with him, he's very aware of what we feel about him, or how we feel about him, and how this is all going to work out this season. So I'm honestly not concerned. I talked with him yesterday briefly. He looks great. He looks fantastic. Like a thinner version of Rob Gronkowski, actually, right now. He does. So I don't know if he might put a couple pounds on for next off season. But Mike, he's awesome. He's awesome. He fits in well, and it's all going to play out well by the end of the season. Stuff happens. Guys are needed. People are thrust into different roles. Right now, on whatever today's date is, the 13th of February, this is what it looks like. But things change sometimes rather quickly in baseball. I've said this before as a cruel way of answering questions. So let's just play it like this, keep the conversation open, and it's all going to work out well.
Yeah, we're approaching spring training as if we have a six-man starting staff, and Mike Montgomery is part of those six. So if everyone stays healthy, and we decide, looking at the schedule, we want to go with five, then we'll whittle it down, to five, and Mike will join the bullpen. But as of right now, he's a starting pitcher. You need five. You need more than five to get through the course of the year. So we're looking at it as if we have six right now, and we'll see where we go from there. Not saying we're going with a six-man rotation, but for spring training, he's part of that starting group.
Can you give Theo, can you give a before and after comparison of what you're talking about with his mental ability or his mental approach to the game? He seems matured quite a bit.
Yeah, I just think, coming over from Japan, there was a lot of pressure on him to be successful as an individual. It was important for him to prove that he was worthy of the posting number that he got, and representing his country coming over here, and it was important that he put up numbers and be a success. And I think he felt that burden quite a bit, and went out and performed and did really well. Now, last year, having been through the playoffs, pitching extremely well in the division series and in the championship series, and feeling what that's like, and how a team can come together in a playoff push like that, and along with his previous playoff experience, and then getting to the World Series and not being able to bring it home, and feeling the disappointment of the World Series. I think it just refocused him on what's important in this game, and he's dedicating himself to winning a World Series. I think maybe more than anyone else out there, he wants to get back on that stage and come through. And I think we're a great place to have that happen.
Joe, you was asked about the impressions that he had of you guys when he played you guys in the LCS, and what impressions did you have of him that can now apply to him being on the roster?
I mean, I've seen him pitch for several years now. I mean, he's like Theo had spoken about earlier. He's an elite arm within Major League pitching. I mean, listen, when this guy is right, which he normally is right, he's the strikeout guy that he is. He's got multiple pitches. He doesn't walk a whole lot of folks. He's going to be out there sucking up some innings. He just provides so many positives for us. It's wonderful to have him on your side. Trust me. I mean, when you're game planning against him, you watch that first and second inning, and all of a sudden, like, the ball's coming. He's tall, and the ball's coming out of his hand, and it's staying like 2 feet off the ground, all the way with great care. And you think, oh my God, it's going to be a long day. Now it's on your side. And then beyond that, all this other stuff that he's capable. Theo had spoken about the spin, the breaking ball, the split, the changeup, whatever. I mean, this guy's got so many different weapons. Now he's on your side. It's always a nice feeling to have. So when he gets on a roll, that's that contagious component where you got him and you got Johnny and Kyle and et cetera, and the entire group working out there. It could be it's going to be fun to watch. But he's a different cat. I mean, not many guys that big, that tall, that delivery, that command. Not many people combine all those elements. So I think when our guys get to watch him in person, it could be contagious in a positive way.
Joe, how much better can the defense be adding strikeout pitchers to both the rotation and the bullpen?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course, and when the ball's not in play, that makes everybody better. You know, we really do pride ourselves on our defense, as you well know. Cutting down on the number of times you have to make a play. And beyond that, normally strikeout pitchers do elicit lesser contact normally. So anytime the contact is softer, that makes your defense bigger. So that's part of the equation for me also. You get guys that are missing bats, lesser contact, bigger defense, and furthermore, you know, the ability, the fact that we've had our guys together for so many years now in the infield, that's not normal. That's abnormal. And now all of a sudden, outfield, Schwarb's in better shape, moving around. You got Albert Happer becoming more familiar out there, Jason, and of course Silvers, what he can do out there. Contreras behind the plate. It's really, it's you know how much I like defense. It's really fun to watch and anticipate. But your pitchers really obviously can help control that by the contact that's made, and that's why Kyle was so good a couple years ago. But missing bats is really a cool concept.
Theo, regarding budgets and CBTs and things like that, how much flexibility is left for trade deadlines?
We do have some, not a ton, but it's something we have to manage through the course of the year. But you know, speaking of budgets, I should say too that you know, at the trade deadline, or when we acquired at the All-Star break, when we acquired Jose Quintana, we made the point then that acquiring him with the great contract that he had might allow us at some point to bring another pitcher with him. And we almost felt like we were acquiring 1.5 pitchers in that deal because it would go halfway towards acquiring someone else. I think today's that day, you know, when you bring in a Yu Darvish. But for Quintana, the great job he did in our rotation and the affordable contract that he has, that really allowed us to make this move today. And then to further Joe's point, you know, with the continuity that we have with our position player group, it's something that we're really excited about. You know, it's almost like a throwback to when my parents were growing up in baseball. You know, you get to know a generation of players, Cubs fans, getting to know the Cubs teams in the late '60s. They got to stay together for a decade, for a long period of time, and I think our fans have really gotten to know this group. This group has bonded together, been successful, lost in the postseason, won in the postseason, been through tough times, come back, and that's who we are. It's a big part of our identity, is this position player core, and we knew all along we'd have to find a way to build great pitching around them. And if you look back the last 3 years, we've had the best pitching in baseball. It hasn't always been perfect. We haven't done a great job developing homegrown pitching. It's something we hope to improve, but we've had the best pitching in baseball the last 3 years. And now you look at our starting five. Couldn't be happier with this group. As Joe said, we got to go out and do it. But what a pitching staff to be able to put with this position player group. So we're just happy, you know, where we are as an organization right now, the resources we've been given to keep this window open and make the most of it. Got to go out and do it, but you know, we love who these players are as people as well as the baseball players. The fact that they're still together, coming back, and have strong pitching behind them. We're excited and ready to go.
Yeah, just a follow up on that idea. Darvish's final number, how it's structured, how does that impact next winter and the class that everyone's been talking about?
Yeah, it's hard to sit here, you know, a year removed and see what our approach is going to be next off season. You know, look, if everyone plays well and we're healthy and productive, we have just about everybody back next year. We might be in a situation where we don't have to do much. That said, this game is so unpredictable. We might have real needs in areas that we don't anticipate. So we'll just see where we are at that point, take stock of it throughout the course of the season and at the trade deadline, trying to look ahead. But you know, we still have some flexibility as players move through the arbitration system. So we're not necessarily done, but we obviously made a significant investment in Darvish to round out our pitching staff and to staff that we think is going to be together for years to come.
Joe, what is it like for you to have such familiarity with that core group, but now to have this kind of rotation around them? I mean, what kind of feelings do you have heading in?
Well, what it means, like we're talking about, is when you come into camp, everybody knows what's going on, for lack of a better way of. Right now we have to break in coaches, not players. It's kind of unusual. I mean, I've already met with the coaches, whether it's Butter or Chili. Andy's on board right now. Will, I'm relying on the infielders to help Butter regarding what we're doing, and I've already talked to Butter about that. I have so much faith, not in like you're saying the player, but the person, our guys. When we go out there, we work on things. It's well oiled. They understand. If we want to create nuance, we can. If we want to try something different, it's easy to do because they know what the other guy's doing. I mean, you hear about this stuff all the time. Whether a lot of times you hear about it in a basketball sense, sometimes in a football sense, but a lot of times in basketball, where players know the other player's movements. I think our infielders know each other's movements, and it's really whether it's Contreras and picking or Anthony willing to throw, Addison, and of course Javier's abilities, crazy abilities, and Zoe's versatility. And I think KB, you can't underestimate how far he's come as a defensive third baseman over the last couple of years. But for me, there's a lot of comfort in a sense because they're very accountable. They're not like they're just showing up and throwing their gloves out there saying we're fine. No, they're going to come and work. And if we want to try different things, we can because they understand. They understand what we're doing. So for me, that's really interesting. And beyond that, dovetail that into the pitching that we've created, it's really fascinating. So I do rely on the players a lot to be athletes and players themselves. I rely on the conversation with them. And now you interject some new energy among the coaching staff. See, that's not been spoken about. And if I think that the energy within the coaching staff is going to be interesting also to watch and let these guys, turn these guys loose and let them, permit them to bring into this situation what they're capable of doing also. Really good stuff.
Joe, do you have a new thought on who might lead off, or is it the rotational guys you've talked about?
It's still rotational. I mean, you know, there's so many different guys to consider, and versus lefties and versus right-handed pitching also speaks to that too. You'll see it during camp. We'll try different things in different games. We'll conclude something. I've typically already talked to the coaches, like the first part of this camp, slow. Let's go after it slowly, build into it, don't push anybody too hard. The work, everything about it. And then maybe the last 10 days, I like to really, you know, amp it up a little bit over the last 10 days, and you'll start seeing maybe a more tested in the situation, kind of what we may look like breaking out of camp. But we have some ideas, but it's nebulous. There's nothing concrete right now. We got to look at a lot of different things, and we'll test it during camp.
You know, Joe kind of touched on this when he said you'll accept a talent like you, Darvish, anytime during the spring, but I'm wondering, is there any sort of benefit there, advantage? The roster looks almost settled coming into spring training, while pretty much every other contender is probably answering questions about who you're going to add.
Yeah, I mean, I think we thought it was very important to have him here on day one. That was something we talked to Joel Wolf about, was that, you know, the transition for any player going into a new situation, it is difficult, no matter who it is. And we felt like if we were going to add a pitcher, we were going to do it before camp. So that was something that was very important. As far as the kind of shot in the arm question, you know, I think it's nice. It definitely is a great way to begin camp by adding a pitcher like that. But the sense I get talking to our players is they're so incredibly focused. Obviously, as Joe said, you'd rather have a camp after winning the World Series. But as far as the edge of our players, I think everyone, you know, had a bad taste in their mouth after the Dodger series. Clearly, everyone worked really hard this offseason, and it's a really focused group right now. So it is a nice shot in the arm, but at the same time, I don't think this group really needed it.